A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this 100th episode of the Together for Education webinars brought to you by Notebook. More than a year ago, on April 20th, 2020, the lockdown had started. We were working from home. We at Notebook were a brand that was just over a year old. We did our beta launch on 26th of January 2019 and had slowly developed content right from classes 1 through to 12 for the CBSE curriculum. We were meeting teachers, going around schools, talking to students, parents, finding out what their problems were, and we were really enjoying that process. Suddenly, the pandemic struck. Students were relegated to their homes, classes started moving online, and a lot of issues came up. Friends and relatives, teachers whom we had spoken to, came to us and said, these online classes are so difficult. These are new systems that we need to get used to. We at Notebook felt that it was our duty to set up a system that would help our esteemed educators get a more hands-on experience of these new learning platforms. Zoom was quickly becoming popular, so we decided to set up a series of webinars called Together for Education. The idea was to bring all the educators in India on one common platform and have them share their thoughts, their views, their ideas, discussing various aspects of our school education system. Well, honestly, when we started, we thought this would last for a month or two. Little did I know that more than a year later, I would be welcoming you to our 100th episode. There's only one reason why this has been possible, and that has been your love and support. And for that, we must thank each and every one of you. So a huge thank you from the entire Notebook team to each and every one of you whose support over these last so many months has kept us going. Today, we look at this journey that the Indian education system has traversed. It's been a phenomenal journey. Schools of all shapes and sizes, from the elite schools in our metro cities to the smallest schools, maybe 500 kilometers away from the nearest ATM. Everybody has moved online. Everybody has together said that while schools may be shut, schooling cannot shut down. Today, we look at the journey of the Indian education system that has made it what we call unbroken. Our first speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. Philip Burrett. Mr. Burrett retired as the Deputy Headmaster from the illustrious Doon School in Dehradun after 44 years of serving in education across various institutions. Mr. Burrett served the Doon School as Housemaster, Head of Department, Dean of Activities, Dean of Student Welfare, Deputy Headmaster, Second Master, and Acting Headmaster with great distinction. He also carried out a visioning exercise for the Doon School in the year 2011 through an in-depth study of a number of British public schools and various schools in the US. Mr. Burrett qualified as a leadership trainer at Wellington College, UK in the year 2000. He is also an athlete, an adventurer, and a naturalist, and we at Notebook are proud to have him as a senior advisor. More importantly, he has been the opening speaker for all of our 100 episodes. Sir, it's my privilege to welcome you back again.
Thank you very much, Abayu, for that introduction. And thank you very much for that introduction. And also, congratulations to the entire Notebook team, which includes you, Achin, Shubayu, Abhishek, Kagori, Meghna. It's been, y'all have shown more resilience than I can ever imagine. I thought I would speak for a month or two, and it's gone on for a year plus. A good evening to our esteemed panelists, Dr. Saha, great to see you again, and my friend Roy de Silva, and Mrs. Sharma and Ramachandra, and to all the friends who have tuned in to listen to us week in and week out. You all too have shown great loyalty and resilience. I wonder how far we are from getting onto the Guinness Book of World Records, Shubayu. Now, if resilience is the quality of resisting and enduring through a difficult phase and not giving up and collapsing, then I think the Indian education system has been the epitome of resilience. And I don't think teachers are any different from the medics in white who have been in the trenches and in the forefront. I think they should be clubbed together. In 2020, there were more than 1.2 billion children in 186 countries affected by the school closure. And India, of course, has 1.5 million institutions and over 10 lakh recognized schools. We thought that when 2020 ended, we had the end in sight. Our spirits were high. Online teaching had done its job. But then, we got complacent, we lost patience, and we were hit by a second wave, even more serious, more deaths, more lockdowns. But rather than, lick our wounds, I think the school system got involved, no negativity, and we started from where we left off in November 2020 and got on with the task. Now, I think COVID-19 upends all sectors of the economy, whether it's schools, higher education, students, teachers, leaders, parents have all been affected due to the nationwide lockdown. And consequent to this was the switching to remote learning. And of course, kids were busy. Now, it is clear that the pandemic has utterly disrupted an education system that many assert was already losing its relevance. Now, in his book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, Yuval Noah Harari outlines how schools continue to focus on a traditional academic skill and rote learning rather than on new skills such as critical thinking, adaptability, etc., which will be more important for the success, for the later success. Okay. So could the move to online learning be the catalyst to create a new and more effective method in educating students? While some worry that the hasty nature of the transition to online education may have hindered this goal, others plan to make e-learning a part of their new normal after experiencing the benefits firsthand. Schools are already looking ahead to a post-pandemic situation and talking about blended learning, research-based learning, the flipped classroom, individualized self-directed learning, and the new C's of education, creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication. Now, another characteristic of being resilient is the ability to see the silver lining behind the dark clouds. I think the pandemic has catalyzed the need for our schools to quickly adapt to IT and digital learning. And I think this is what the pandemic has done. Changed, we're looking at changed classroom infrastructure. We're looking at daily routine changes, schedule changes, timetabling changes. Even annual calendar plannings will have to change. Even before COVID-19, there was already a high growth and adoption of education technology, whether it's language apps, visual tutoring, video conferencing tools, etc. But there has been a significant surge in the last year and a half. In many ways, India was lagging behind if you looked at other advanced and developed education countries. But it came as a surprise to me because we have some of the highest and best brains in Silicon Valley sitting over there. And our Silicon Valley itself, Pune, Hyderabad, Bangalore, were throwing up the best in the business. Now, even though we've lagged behind, I think this is the time. This is where India can, rise to the occasion and bridge the gap between the best and us. Now, for those who do not have access to the right technology, there is evidence that digital learning can be more effective in a number of ways. Research shows that on an average, students retain 25 to 60% more material when learning online compared to 8 to 10 in a classroom. And this is mostly due to the students being able to learn online at their own pace, at their own time. A traditional classroom setting, because students can learn at their, they don't learn at their own pace. So we have accelerated learning over the last 1.5 years. Nevertheless, the effectiveness of online learning varies amongst age groups. Most teachers report that the younger children are more difficult to handle. And therefore, and the senior kids have taken to it much better. So I think we'll have to adapt over the next few months into how we modify this teaching to work with different age groups. Teachers, yes, do report disciplining action was more difficult, and also keeping parents out of the classroom. Now, why do you think we have been resilient? I feel that while it is easy to plan for an emergency where we can see the end or how long it will last, the virus has kept changing. And this uncertainty, this unknown element has been the problem. And therefore, just like the virus keeps mutating and changing, we also have had to change along the way. That is a sign of resilience. Adaptation to change is resilience. And it has been visible right along. Exams were canceled and postponed, modified. Now new CBSE assessment guidelines are out there. So all this is changing as we go along. We're thinking on our feet. Schools and teachers have adapted, learned, changed. There was Zoom initially, then Microsoft Class, then Google Teams. Teachers struggled. They struggled to learn. And then, of course, they mastered it, became better. Then there was competitions, debate, art, physical education, yoga, hobbies, everything online. They adapted. In many ways, there were two reasons, I think, apart from this, which why we was so resilient. One, I think it is we were faced with a do or die situation. You either learned, you either swam, or you drowned. Teachers stood to lose their jobs. The second was, I think, the belief that they were serving a higher purpose, which made teachers grow with each passing day. It is our dedicated teachers and the respect for the gurus and the dedication to the shiksha, the learning, the shishya, that kept us afloat. I think this tradition in India, where the guru is revered, teaching is revered, this is what kept us. And if you look at two other things, I think it is the parents and the children, both have shown resilience. And the former have shown resilience in the way they've adapted and shouldered the burden of learning, online, despite all the problems at home and the emotional problems. Parents too have shown resilience. Many of them have lost their jobs, lost loved ones, and still they have adapted to this new way of their children learning. As I said earlier, children too have had a lot of trouble. They've had to face not meeting their friends. They've been locked in houses. They've not met their teachers. Online learning too has its own strain on the eyes, and it weakens your immunity. The other thing that came along that I think bolstered the whole thing was the new education policy. And that gave an added fillip to the digital learning and showed us all that what we were doing was not just an ad hoc means of tiding over this, temporary problem. It was a way forward. And if implemented correctly, the new education policy can guide institutions to build a forward-looking strategy that promises long-term resilience and contributes to the ideal of self-reliance. Yet, this has changed education forever. I think COVID has changed education forever. And the things I mentioned earlier, like the flipped classroom, research-based inquiry learning, student initiative learning, teamwork, collaboration, creativity, this is now the new normal. However, the other important thing about resilience is that we must learn from our mistakes and for the future. The transition to online learning has showcased a great glaring divide, digital divide, with a large section of our population and students struggling for connectivity, lack of resources, and there is unequal internet access in non-urban areas, lack of web devices. A survey showed that almost 83% of Indians aged between 16 and 24 feel that the pandemic has accentuated the digital divide. But I must say that the Human Resource Ministry has done a lot of work. At least they have launched this Atmanirbhar Bharat, or Self-Reliant India. Digital education content is available on various platforms like Diksha Swayam, Virtual Labs, EPG, Pathshala, the National Digital Library, to name a few. To address this digital divide, the use of TV channels Swayam Prabha, a group of 34 DTH channels, and radio, including community radio, is now available. All e-resources are to be on a common platform. And they are soon going to launch the Prime Minister's Evedya program. This will include One Nation, One Digital. So in other words, the government too has taken cognizance of this divide and they're doing something about it. The pandemic has also impacted the mental health and the well-being of students. Again, as I said, not in touch with their teachers, the human flesh and blood teachers, children have suffered. And this too has been addressed. There are a lot of people out there helping children to work out their emotional issues. The government of India has launched Mano Darpan, an initiative that provides psychological and advisory support to students. Every school also has, I think, made its counselors available. Now, the way ahead, just a minute. Yeah, sorry, Shobha, just a minute. I've lost my notes. Shobha, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a minute. Yeah.
Sure, sir. Not a problem.
Yeah. Okay, one sec. Just a minute, Shobha. I've lost my notes.
Not a problem, sir.
Okay, so I just talked about the problems thrown up, and I think resilience is also handling, the way forward. In conclusion, let me just say that the pandemic has been challenging, but offers also opportunities for the Indian education sector. And while the onus is on the educators to accelerate transformational change on the ground, many other stakeholders like industry, government, parents they also need to help build a robust, resilient, student-centric education system. Now, all major events often are a turning point for rapid innovation. A clear example is the rise of e-commerce post the SARS virus. While we have yet to see whether this will apply to e-learning post-COVID-19, it is one of the few sectors where investment has not dried up. What has been made clear through this pandemic is the importance of disseminating knowledge across borders. Companies and all parties of society, if online learning and technology can play a role here, it is incumbent on all of us to explore its full potential. If you look at what happened in the world post-Second World War, Japan flourished, Europe came up. So we see even globally, history tells us that after disaster, people rise because they're resilient. And the future might look dim and at the moment, but I feel that the resilience of the Indian education system is going to show us that post-pandemic, COVID-19, I think we are going to be stronger, better, and education will change for the better. With this, Sabayu, I want to hand this over to you. Thank you so much, and congratulations once again.
Thank you so much, sir. Like every other week, we again benefit from your insights. You spoke about the Guinness Book of World Records. The last few days, I have been searching all over the internet for education webinars that may have gone past the 100 mark. Frankly, 3 days of Google search is yet to throw up anything. But unless we get something very confirmed, we will not really make that an official claim. Well, thank you so much again, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to invite our keynote address speaker for the day. We have with us Dr. Biswajit Saha, who's a Director, Training and Skills Education in CBSE, New Delhi. Dr. Saha manages the works of skill curriculum design, development of student resource books and training manuals, and monitors the execution of various teachers training programs by 16 CBSE Centers of Excellence. Prior to joining the CBSE in 2011, Dr. Saha was faculty member and head of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at Government Engineering College, Agartala. He's also served as the officer on special duty for technical education with the government of Tripura and worked with the Tripura Central University and National Informatics Center, Government of India in various capacities. Dr. Saha handled execution of various development projects of World Bank, AICTE, UGC, and MIT. He is also working as a member of the Apex Committee of DGT, Government of India, All India Vocational Board, AICTE, Tripura State Higher Education Council, Steering Committee of Diksha, Ministry of Education, Government of India, and also represents CBSE in many other national and international committees. He drives promotion of future skills in schools with strong industry association and also oversees digital education movement. So it is indeed a privilege to have you on this platform today. Thank you so much for sparing your time. Over to you.
Thank you, Shukayo ji, and of course, my compliment to Notebook CEO Achin ji, and in fact, Dr. Philip has actually narrated the entire spectrums, the way we are facing the challenge, and of course, what the government of India and different community has came forward and doing so many activities. I think it's excellent speech by Dr. Philip. And of course, all the eminent principals, senior principals who are very much joined us as a panelist, Asha ji, Anupama ji, and Roy Silva ji. So it's my privilege to be here with you. And at this point of time, I think the topic chosen is really timely. And my congratulations to you all for organizing 100 episodes. It's definitely a one-way challenge, but I think you made it. So our congratulations. And at this point of time, I think the country is facing a different kind of stress, one-way stress, other way uncertainty, both in the two E sector, economy and of course education, and health is the another pillar which is I think shaking every day, and especially the news media and other way, the entire country is going through a tremendous situation. So at this point of time, how to ensure that the challenges is not going to hit the mindset, as well as Mr. Philip has rightly mentioned, the mental well-being of the young kids. So I'm not going to showcase as a challenge, but at the same time, all the education community need to think through, because the third wave or second wave or whatever way we are looking, ultimately the attacking side is towards the children. So that is also a stressful, both for the parents and students at home at this point of time, and equally it is challenging for the educators who are on day-to-day basis. They are trying to reach them and trying to help the mental well-being, because that inner energy we need to restore, and how we can re-energize. There lies the beauty. I think through that, okay, one way, of course, that technology and your efforts as a notebook, as organizations, or the different organizational commitment, even from the side of the government, as Mr. Philip has mentioned, towards Diksha or Swayam platform from our side. So we are also trying to cater the requirement. But whether, despite of all efforts, of course, there are different state-specific agenda where television channels, radio, community radio, and through WhatsApp also teachers are trying to reach to the students. So all these efforts are ongoing, but beyond that, certain other aspects we need to think through. And at this point of time, that thought is how to empower the parents and role changing. So in every forum, my humble request to all the parents and all the teachers, that how that shifting of role is possible at this point of time. So complete 1 year that all kind of experimentations has been carried out. Now, suddenly today also, I was discussing with one of the UNICEF India representative. Can we think of promoting this gap year completely towards experimental based learning at home? So if you look into our last year circular, so lot of activities which can be carried out at home, and that too also possible under supervisions of the parents, and in turn, how it can be connected with the curriculum. So that reverse integrations or forward integrations, whatever you say, because at this point of time, if we take a rubber band or elastic, say, and if we pull, then definitely one is actual reality and another is our visions, what we are aiming from out of the education system. So in our future visions and with the present reality, I think there is too much of tension, because that rubber band is, we are trying to push. And so that one way education systems, other way the parents and the economic stress, uncertainty and COVID, and of course, so many other things. So now to create a positive balance between this stress, I think we need to come out with solutions. So my first submissions to this virtual meeting is how we can empower the parents and at this stage. And the monitoring mechanisms, and of course, these online mechanisms or offline mechanisms, whatever the best suits to the situation, because the pandemics is also behaving the one way it is as a virus behavior, and other way the contextual socio political behavior. So all these behaviors are also somewhat, pardon me, we are also trying to behave like a virus sometime. So all those things need to come out. This is an open forum discussions, don't take it otherwise. I'm not accusing or blaming anyone, because here only solutions to us at this point of time is praying for each other. And in our prayer, how can we bring these educations and the mental well-being and their capability development? And they here, of course, the student community, be it in school, college, or university, everywhere in throughout the globe, the situation is more or less same. I am really thankful to Mr. Philip, the way he has given that Indian systems and how we can be the leader for the future. They are, I think, both the principal Ashaji is, of course, from other soil, but definitely serving the Indian community there. So here, what we can do at this point of time, can we change the narrative of assessment? Every forum we are trying to stress, of course, board is meant for assessment or examination, but we want to give away that role to you, so that the basic purpose of educations, of course, that measuring tools and instrument and some standard framework is always required. And that is only in case of class 10th or class 12. What about the remaining classes? I think that mechanisms we need to develop. And those who have already developed through this kind of forum, please share, so that, and every school's principal, every school's teacher, they need to connect with their parents, and whatever mechanisms and measuring instrument and tools you are using to assess the capability of the student at school or through the screen, on screen, I think that mechanisms you please explain to each and every parents at home. I think your role transformations will give more empowering journey to both student, parents, as well as the teacher. So ultimately, home schools to whole schools, that journey between, there are so many dots, so many maybe in between Indian Oceans or rivers like Ganges and others are also there in between. Now that bridge, instrumentally, you have to create a mental bridge, and that will going to actually talk about the resilience, what we are facing and what way we have to see the future. The second component which I would like to address upon is that integrations of art in the curriculum, no matter you are teaching physics or maths or social science. Because in every household in India, and the place from where Mr. Shubhayu is moderating today's session, the city of joy, I think the people at every household in Kolkata or in around Bangalore, they know that art integrations. I think from household to, from one state to other state, that journey need to be created. So in every forms, how we can look into the art aspects, music, how we can integrate. So all these narratives will give us a confidence. And that whole school approach always looked into the fitness, and here we are talking about the mental fitness. More fertile our brain and mind would be, I think they would be more absorptive, and their capability would be enormous, so that ultimately any kind of challenge beyond that COVID challenge also, our students would be capable, and then only leading India or leading a particular state and showing a mantra for the global community would be possible. The third component, can we fragment all our lesson plan into different modes? So one way I try to touch upon that experimental or experiential learning kind of mechanisms, where the real life connect with the curriculum is possible. So of course, textual materials are important, but if the textual materials can be discussed with the real life examples, I think that is the student can remember, and that road-based criticisms, what we Indian education systems largely discussed at every forum, I think gradually we can get rid of that kind of discussions, and only competency will matter. The fourth component, how that school educator, college educator, and university educator can connect and together create a holistic atmosphere. I think these disjoint need to be removed. The requirement of each other need to be properly understood. If any organizations will go with a survey about the satisfactions level of parents from the education systems here broadly, school, college, and university, I think majority are going to narrate a negative comment. We are not satisfied, despite of providing best of the best education, and best of the best teachers are taking the classes and taking the sessions and trying to help to do all kind of homeworks and lesson plan and etc. etc. Even then, the level of satisfactions, if anyone would like to measure, I think statistically that would give a negative impressions of the education systems. So where we lie? The fifth issue is internationally, if we look into the dynamics of education's transaction in Indian schools versus the school at China, Russia, or other progressive nations, I think that the quality parameters somewhere down the line, especially for the STEM subjects, some study had already been carried out by the Stanford University, and both 10+2 pass out, as well as those who are doing engineering from premier institutes in India. That particular study shows, it is a continuous study, it is even now, every year it is going on, that quality parameters are really alarming for the STEM subjects. Of course, the linguistics, behaviors, and other social science are not there to be covered. But for the STEM subjects, the report is negatively portrayed. And other parameter of assessment, like if you look into National Achievement Survey and other international assessment, of course, India is participating in a piecemeal manner. So they are also that with respect to standardized tools, somewhere down the line, we are not showcasing our best talent in that particular measurement. That means somewhere in the assessment practices, whether it is board-based assessment or school-based assessment, we are not justifying our role. So that may, our assessment pattern is largely focused on a single standard and trying to equate every children under that particular skills. So in all top graded philosophers has rated the children as a unique individual, unique brain and unique mind, unique thought. Now, at this point of time, how children are thinking at home, can that signal, that remote signal connections are there with the teachers and educators? I think if that spiritually or mentally we can connect with them, that would be the real resilience we can promote in the cognitive behaviors of each and every individual student. I think that narrative we need to create at this point of time. So one-to-one connections. Every student is important for the teachers. Now many teachers will argue with me what Mr. Saha is saying. It is possible to connect with each and every one, every student at home. I think it is possible. If not on day-to-day basis, it is possible on weekly basis, because I strongly believe on that. Why? Because during last 1 year, I have connected with so many principals, so many teachers, so many students, even the appearing 10th and 12th appearing candidate. In my last 10 years, or almost 11 years service at CBSE, if we one way equate with this last 10 years over telephone discussions and last 1 year discussions, I think there is a huge difference. In last 10 years, the number
Sir, I think there's a bit of a connectivity issue. If you can hear me, is the issue at my end? Could somebody please confirm that?
Dr. Saha's frame is frozen.
Right, ma'am. Thank you. We'll just give it a few seconds. Hopefully, he'll be able to regain connectivity. I think Dr. Saha lost connectivity there, and we don't see him on the panel. We'll just wait for a few seconds while I'm sure he's joining back. Well, while we are waiting, I take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you once again. I mean, this has been a most phenomenal journey. When we started this out, to be very honest, we said we will discuss digital learning because that's what we at Notebook do. We will tell every principal out there the brilliant work we at Notebook are doing in digital learning, and that would be it. Today, I was looking at the 100 topics that we have covered. We have looked at digital education, the problems with digital education, digital divide, mental health, resilience, what makes schools great, schoolhouse systems, sports, even school transport and excursions. I think the body of work right now that Together for Education has on YouTube alone, these 100 episodes put together, could justifiably become an Amazon Prime or Netflix series, especially for educators. That could very well happen. Well, while we're waiting for Sir to join back, let me just quickly show you some glimpses of these past episodes that I was talking about. This has been a fantastic journey, and I have to thank each and every one of you again and again, and it still wouldn't be enough. Here is a glimpse of all these episodes that have happened so far.
But why should a child compete with another to excel? Why doesn't the child compete with himself or herself This is what I think we need to teach children, that the competition lies within yourself, that you need to better your own achievements every time you perform.
I asked, my dear parents, how many of you want your children to be a doctor? Many hands up, many hands up. How many of you want your children to be an engineer, architect? And later on, my last question, after a very simple pause, I asked, how many of you want your children to be a teacher? How many of you prefer your child to be a teacher? Sad thing is that 1% of the total population, not even that. Then I asked my wicked question that, how many of you wish that your child should be taught by a qualified teacher? All the hands up. If you don't want your children to be a teacher and you want your students to be taught by a qualified teacher, and if you are not allowing your children to be a teacher, who is going to be a teacher?
Night, we changed to bagless school, schoolless school, physical contactless school, examination-less school, and even textbook-less school. So it was an overnight thing, a paradigm shift which we took over, and we navigated it with a gusto that was unforeseen.
I know I've been so touched by this story, because I think it signifies this deep desire, and the kind of adventure that awaits a young person who wants to read, who wants to know more about the world.
I think confidence.
It was also about taking risks. It's about putting yourself out there.
Yes, we need to educate our students. We need to
look at the inclusive schooling system.
Now, digital learning is not a new concept for us. It was in vogue before the pandemic started. But its use was limited in the sense that most of the educational institutions were using the digital media in a limited format. In real-time classroom teaching, digital media was used to supplement it. We were comfortable with the traditional setup of classroom teaching and added new concepts wherever needed. Then the news of spread of COVID-19 in different parts of the world and the declaration of lockdown in our country moved us. Were the educators ready for a scenario where the entire teaching learning process will be in digital format? For me, the answer is both yes and no.
Today, when we deal with teenagers in schools, we have a lot of issues to handle. And both Mr. Burrett and Achin spoke so clearly and succinctly about the issues that children are facing. In school today, we can only discipline kids with kindness, with counseling, and obviously by getting to the root of the matter.
The teachers, the children, and the parents are equal stakeholders.
The latest in the fields of technology and medicine.
When my child was, first diagnosed, and I've had the classic situation having one child who's typically what we label as normal and one child who has issues. I was, as a parent, pathetically grateful to anyone who would be nice to my child. I'd be very nice. I would be grateful that, thank you so much for being nice to my child. It was very important to me, and I was grateful. I was, over the top. I didn't expect it when it happened, and I was very defensive all the time. As the years go by, as a parent, especially as a parent of a child with special needs, one of the things you need to be very clear about is that they have a right to education. They have a right to be what they are. And if they're not neurotypical, they're not neurotypical, but they have as much of a right to this planet as we do. So if your child, makes a bit of noise and people look around and all that, that's fine. That's him, that's her, and they have as much of a right to be like that as you have to cheer when you are happy or to cry when you're sad.
So as a teacher, I always felt training was very, very important.
Certain things
even when the IB graduations happened.
Job. Yes, there was a time when education was a struggle.
And these experiences, what we have all have been talking about, are something they don't stay just till the school.
But it took me about 3 years to sort of soften up and to think about what we were doing here, what were we trying to achieve. And at times I employed 5 coaches, and it made me think a lot about the development of the child. As I said to my coaches, and we'd often have chats, whether informal or as a group, we don't know where this child comes from. We do, but do we know what's happening at home? And the realization that there may be 6, 7, 8, or 9, but they're just like us. They have their good days, they have their bad days. Some days they're receptive to learning, the mindset's there. Other days it's a battle. So a lot of it was giving of yourself, which is very quite new to me, because cricket in many ways is an individual sport. So we concluded that we were first and foremost, we were helping raise a child. The kids would come from a single home, a single parent home, and the difficulties of school and the pressures. And sport should be an outlet for them. It should be a release for them. So whilst our sessions were structured, we realized that fun, part of fundamentals, had to be incorporated, and we had to work on getting to know this child, getting his respect, getting him to want to be with you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's been the fantastic journey of Together for Education. Once again, I cannot overstress this. We have to thank each and every one of you for the phenomenal support that you have shown to this particular platform. We are so grateful for that. I think Dr. Saha has joined back. Let me just wait for a second. Dr. Saha, if you're there. Dr. Saha, are you there? I guess his network problem is still there. In the meantime, let me then introduce the next speaker that we have. We have with us Achin Bhattacharyya, the founder and CEO of Notebook, the person whose brainchild this entire episode is. Achin is a chartered accountant. He was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. He is a fellow of the ICAI and a member of CP Australia. He is also the recipient of the prestigious Indian Achievers Award. Achin is an avid reader and a passionate traveler with keen interests in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce, and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to their brand strategies. Achin, if you're there, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Shubhayu, am I audible?
Yeah, Achin, loud and clear.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the 100th episode of Together for Education webinar. Right from the time we started this, we have indeed come a long way with your support. Apart from the best brains in school education, great educators like all of you, who have graced the platform and enriched us with your ideas, thoughts. Also, achievers from all walks of life have contributed to this platform. Together, we have been able to reach more than 75,000 esteemed educators from across the country. And also members of Indian diaspora overseas. We at Notebook are truly humbled. And I guess today when I look back, the only reason why Together for Education webinar has been able to complete 100 episodes and he is still counting, is because truly all of you have considered this as your very own. I have been mentioning in this forum, and even at Notebook, we truly believe that this is your forum, this is your platform. And indeed, together, it has been a great journey. On behalf of my team, I thank all of you for making Notebook a well-loved brand across school corridors of the country. A very special and big thank you to Burrett sir. Sir, indeed, you have been a great mentor for the entire team and for this entire concept. So today, when we are planning the 100th episode, we are very clear that unlike the earlier milestones, say, many of you who have been with us throughout the journey, say, be it the 50th episode earlier, unlike those milestones, we did not want to celebrate considering the second wave of the pandemic, in which many of us have lost our near and dear ones. But I wanted to take this opportunity to salute human spirit, which through centuries have been truly indomitable. When we look around, we see so many such cases, people who have defied all odds and stood up to the challenge in this hour of crisis. Doctors, nurses, scientists, pharmacists, health workers, civic volunteers, sanitation workers, members of law enforcement agencies, all of them have contributed to this great cause. Even when we take a more holistic view, we have seen over the last 1 year, we have seen how much parents have been involved, how greatly they have been involved with their child's education. Homemakers who had to manage home and also help with children with their studies. We have seen soul-earning members of families who had to take risk and go out to work to keep the pot boiling, even in the midst of this catastrophic pandemic. The list of resilience is long. And there are many stories of immense courage, of love for others above self, of sacrifice, of pain of losing loved ones, incidents which sometimes in future will be history for another generation. We will study our response and prepare better for any eventuality in future. However, one thing that has really stood out, is the firm resolve of teachers, of educators across the length and breadth of the country. It has been truly tremendous. Even when schools have been closed, schooling has always been on. And all stakeholders in the education system, as Dr. Saha also mentioned, Burrett sir mentioned, be it government, be it CBSE, be it school authorities, everyone tried to contribute to the best of their ability. Everyone lent a helping hand. Our teachers, and many of them who have been teaching for decades now, 2 years, 3 years, so quickly they adapted to this entire digital learning. Personally, we have been interacting with so many educators from across the length and the breadth of the country. And I truly vouch for the kind of integrity, the kind of dedication that I've seen in so many of them. Indeed, I guess during these testing times, one thing that has been very, very clear and one thing that has come to the surface is, as a society, as a nation, we indeed stand united to ensure that our children do not lose a precious academic year. To ensure that in spite of whatever hindrances come, education still goes on. So I think, as I was discussing, few things which have been the cornerstone and which we have discussed time and again in this forum. And I'm really happy to see the kind of response that we have got from educators, the kind of response that we have been getting from parents. Because today, with more than 2 million children, that notebook has been teaching. When we get these feedback mails, we get these calls, and we speak to so many parents. We indeed see some great changes, say, be it in terms of equal importance for all subjects like literature, social science, being actively taken up, promoting creativity, promoting arts that Dr. Saha also mentioned. I think very, very important. And I completely agree with regard to that. Generating curiosity, ensuring that a child is indeed interested in a particular topic. And of course, the whole concept of empowering teachers. So as a brand, we always believe that we are here to aid teachers. We are here to support their efforts. And that has always been our humble endeavor. In a time of crisis, amazing things can happen. And history has proven how individuals can respond with innovation and resilience instead of subsiding to what could have been a perilous ending. For instance, during World War II, the world saw innovations that changed the world. As we knew, with the invention of be it first computer, life-saving penicillin, synthetic rubber, the radar, and even the jerry can. Think of a gas container made of pressed steel, just to name a few of them. Extreme challenges push us as humans outside of our comfort zones and force us to look at problems in a new and different way. Crisis demands movements and change, and sitting idle is not an option. Individuals are forced to quickly experiment, try something different, and more than often learn how to fail and fail really fast in order to move forward and find a better solution. And that will always happen. Success and failure, that's a part of life, but it's really important to try. It's really important to move on and find better solutions. Crisis also can become a very strong uniting force. And I think that is something that we have been seeing. How various stakeholders coming together in order to fuel action and support something that can benefit the safety and well-being of the community. The intense desire to help those around us and find new solutions to problems at hand is the very heart of what our educators do by nature. And I think educators, teachers, finding solutions to problem, shaping of lives, crisis or no crisis. This is what our educators have been doing for centuries. All around the world, teachers have really stepped up throughout the pandemic to find new and creative ways to help those around them. And I think the best part is that they had to act very quickly to adapt to the new system of teaching, new ways. But to give them the due credit, they have really done it very fast. At times, challenging environment, unfamiliar settings. The COVID pandemic has indeed catalyzed, a very hands on the deck approach to learning. And it has most likely not been all rainbows and butterflies. The changes have been challenging, exhausting, and at times frustrating for both educators and students. There has been endless changes, tweakings, adjusting, and that is still going on. But then that's a part of life. It's not over. There is still so much to do and take care of students. But if we take a moment to pause, to breathe, and look at all that you have done, all that you explored, discovered, and achieved from this experience. Yeah, I agree. There's a long way to go. We are still in the middle of it. But there's no doubt about it that this has brought to the forefront the fact that our educators are adaptable, flexible, and above all else, resilient to whatever comes their way. But it's a very rightly referred to the Guru Shishya Parampara, which I think is very, very important. If you look at our country, if you look at our civilization, and that is the reason teachers are so highly respected in our society. And that is the reason teaching as a profession is looked at in a completely different way. So I guess that has really been very useful. That has come to the forefront. The strength, the foundation, the belief. So I think today, even when we look at things, look at the fact that we are still in the middle of the pandemic and there's a long way to go, undoubtedly, what you have achieved till now is commendable. No doubt about it. So I think these are a few things I wanted to share. I want to keep it very short today, considering the fact that we have a great panel. We indeed look forward to hear from them. I think Burrett sir gave us a great overview. Accordingly, also Dr. Saha mentioned some very, very nice points. And I look forward to hear from our esteemed panel on this very important topic. Over to you, Shubhayu.
Thank you, Achin. I believe Dr. Saha has been able to join back. Sir, if you're there, would you like to continue? We would love to hear the rest of your deliberation.
I have joined, but
Yes, sir. I think your connectivity is still pretty weak.
I don't know whether you are able to getting my, because I actually lost my
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, we are not being able to. Sir, unfortunately, we are not being able to hear you at all.
Otherwise, you can proceed to discuss.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Hello. I think it would be
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for understanding. Well, as Achin mentioned, we do have a fantastic panel lined up for you. So it is now my privilege to introduce them to you. Usually, you have heard me give you their, past experience, tell you all about the wonderful work that they have done at places. Today's episode is special, so the introduction is also a little special. We have with us Mrs. Asha Sharma, who is the principal of the Indian Learners Own Academy in Kuwait. Besides being the principal, she has also been on the notebook panels on 2 previous occasions. In episode 33, we saw her discussing helicopter parenting, where I think she shared some wonderful views about how overzealous parenting could affect students. We welcomed her back in episode 76, when we discussed the very sensitive topics of POXO and POSH acts. And again, we turned to her when it was time to manage some of those delicate waters. Ma'am, thank you so much for standing by us. Thank you so much for being such a huge support. We also have with us Mrs. Anupama Ramachandra, who is the principal of the Delhi Public School, Electronic City, Bangalore. We have seen ma'am with us on episode 25 when we discussed career choices, and once again in episode 38 when we spoke about co-education schools. I think ma'am brought out some fantastic points both for and against having co-education schools or single gender schools. Ma'am, once again, thank you so much for making the time for us. We have with us Mr. Roy De Silva, who is the principal of St. Stephen's Togan near Chandigarh. Sir has been with us right at the beginning, at episode 8, when we first looked at the digital divide, the tremendous socioeconomic gap that was causing a disparity in delivering digital education across the country. We welcomed him back in episode 79 when we spoke about excursions. Given his geographic location, Sir definitely has access to some really enviable excursion locations. Sir also has the distinction of being the person who has, as an attendee, attended most number of notebook webinars till date. Sir, thank you so much for making the time for us and making us a part of your weekly schedule. The support from teachers like this have made a huge difference to all of us here at Notebook. For that, I thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. Today, we are looking at the secrets of the Indian education system in becoming unshakable. Let me now stop the share. I shall switch on my camera so that we can have this discussion. Once again, welcome and thank you so much for being here. Roy sir, we still don't have you on camera. Sir, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now it's perfect. Thank you.
Oh.
Asha, if I may come to you first. The structuring of this discussion is very similar to a question paper. We have the short answer type first, and then the long answer type. The first one is a very short answer type. If we had to look at the performance of the Indian school education system as a whole and score it out of, let's say, 100, ma'am, how would you score it during these last 1.5 years?
Thank you very much, Subhai. First of all, I would like to congratulate you on the 100th episode of this program.
Thank you so much.
And I congratulate Notebook on its success, which has been conceived by Mr. Achin and Mr. Philip. We have been listening to regularly. To answer your question, I would like to give 60% marks, pass marks with first division, and I've got reasons for it. Because teachers moved in a very fast lane, and they were the ones who were technology shy, they became technology expert. Overnight, the system changed, and teachers became the best of students to learn the new system. Teaching learning process did not stop. It continued. And for the first time, teaching, which is considered a very isolated profession, parents had a full view of the class and they participated in the lessons of the students. And they became partners in education. Why do I give only 60%? Because the answer has been given by 2-3 speakers before, that there is a digital divide in India. It is not accessible to all, and many children were deprived because of lack of gadgets at home. And secondly, you cannot replace a teacher or a school. And effectiveness of education, which should be there, I think that got lost somewhere. So it is just a lopsided growth which is going on. And children were deprived of the facilities like sports, library, other activities, the labs, hands-on experience in the labs of the school, and testing and assessments also suffered. And we can't call them very authentic assessments because everybody doesn't have the facility of proctor exams and all. And by and large, all the stakeholders are not very satisfied. So we can't give 100 out of 100. I have given 60. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was a strict scoring right there. Anupama, ma'am, if we may come to you next, we would ask you to score the same performance.
A very, very warm good evening to all my esteemed co-panelists, Dr. Saha. First of all, a hearty congratulations to Notebook, Mr. Achin and Shubayu and the entire team. Reaching 100 is not easy, and it's not a mean number. So hearty congratulations. I have been part of your 2 earlier sessions also. All these 100 sessions, I've been closely following all these sessions, were very engaging and empowering. No topic was repeated, and all the topics were out of the ordinary. So it was not just the usual topic that you would find elsewhere. So I must congratulate you for being so diverse and so relevant during this pandemic time. So I don't know whether Asha ma'am will believe me, but I wish I could show her the piece of paper where I have written 6 out of 10. So I think I would like to think that great minds think alike. So as a teacher, I have been very realistic in scoring 60 out of 100 also for the way the education went over the past 1.5 years, mainly because of the fact that in a recent survey, they have said that more than 50% of the Indian students do not have access to internet. And they also say that only 47% of Indian students have some sort of computing device in their homes. And only 27% of the Indian students have internet in their homes. So this is a very dismal figure, I would say, if you want to score how it went only based on the online classes that went. But Why is it that I'm giving a first class rating is because there were so many things that we thought earlier was impossible, which became a reality. Starting from teachers going online, making digital learning a reality. There was also a study which said that nearly 63% of students had some kind of learning that happened. So that is the reason why I had to stick to 60%. And of course, the rating that I've given is also because we were able to achieve a phenomenal feat, which is we took learning beyond the classrooms. We took learning beyond the school hours. We made learning flexible and usable. So we did not exactly teach the curriculum this year, but we taught the children the way to study and we made them independent learners. With the amount of teaching that we did, which nowhere matched the normal school hours, when CBSE announced that they came up with a formula as to how we have to tabulate grade 10 marks, 100% of our students wrote to us saying that they were ready to write their exams, board exams. So this confidence in the children for me is very encouraging. And I feel that although online teaching was not as efficient as physical teaching, I think we were able to achieve the fact that students were able to learn on their own. And that is the reason why I feel that 60 out of 100, like how Asha ma'am has given, is a very realistic and a fair score.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Roy sir, this is a bit of a Indian Idol situation. You've had two judges score 6 on 10, and they have said, you know, great minds think alike. So now there's a bit of pressure on you to stick to 6 on 10. Would you?
Yeah, am I audible, Shubhayu?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Oh, good. I'm not one to put numerical figures onto things, but let me begin, first of all, by congratulating the entire notebook team, Achin, yourself, Abhishek, Meghna, Gagori, and all the others behind the scenes who I'm sure have been working tirelessly to achieve and to arrive at this singular landmark. And that you yourself took the trouble to note who was attending which webinar. I was not aware that I was one of the frequentees. I did participate in a lot of them because I felt that it was something that was very important for me in my profession and in my own life. Having said that, before we do the numerics, I would like to just share a word cloud. I did a word cloud, word collage with some of my colleagues and students who online teaching, and different elements came like challenging, amazing, exciting, novel, new experience, time consuming. That was a different one. Horrible or depressing, hopeful, anxious, fearful, insecure, stressed. There were so many of these. And then I said to myself, let's look at it in a more artistic manner, rather than just pin ourselves down to numbers. And so I'd just like to quote a phrase from a famous Spanish poet. His name is Antonio Machado. He lived in the early part of the last century, and he says, "Traveler, your footsteps are the road and nothing more. There is no road. The road is made by walking. By walking, one makes the road. And upon glancing behind, one sees the path that one has trod. Traveler, there is no path. The path is made by walking. Notebook, there is no path. The path is made by walking. You have looked back on these 100 episodes and you have seen where you have come. We have all looked back over the 14 months of online, and instead of giving a holistic kind of numerical value, we need to probably score student participation, teacher effort, parents' demands. There are so many. So perhaps I would do something like a 7.5 on 10, the way things have gone in my own little world over here.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you. Sir, I must warn you, your connectivity is not very great. So your video is a little choppy at times. We can hear you loud and clear. Audio is not a problem, video is a bit lagging at times. Right, now that we have the short answer type questions done, time to get to the more essay type answers. Ashama, if I may come to you first. We have all seen that we have, as a system, been extremely resilient during these trying times. What do you think is the secret of that resilience? Where is this coming from? What's the source?
According to me, resilience means to withstand the pressure, the odds, and to rise quickly to face it. And I'm a person of history, and Indian history says that resilience is in our blood. After the Vedic ages, how many invaders came? Lot many, till we got the independence and became an independent country. We have learned to absorb the goodness from others, and we have learned to learn from others. And because it is a very resilient system, because we have absorbed the goodness of many systems, and secondly, education has been given a very high pedestal in our society. We Indians look towards education as a means of salvation. And it has been given so much of importance that some of the persons like Chanakya, I would like to quote, that he said that if you have to transform the society, you can transform through education. And the British India in that time, Lord Macaulay thought that he could transform the Indian society for worse through the education system only. We withstood that, but we came out victorious. So every time Indian system was suppressed, it tried to rise, and there was a renaissance in the field of education. It is in our blood. It is not something which has been taken from anywhere, but we have learned to fight and resist the massive change, but to keep our identity, our culture, our tradition, and keep the importance of education alive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ram. That was a very interesting take, right? You talk about the terrible time in the last 14 months, and all MAP did was kind of extend the telescope a little bit more. So you look further into the past, and these 14 months seem fairly obvious. Anupama, ma'am, if I may come to you with the same question, what according to you has been the secret to this success, if I may call it that?
In a country like India, the diversity is both our strength and our weakness is what I think. So even with the figures that I quoted earlier, that not too many students had access to internet or a computing device, it is very heartening to know that some kind of learning happened. So this shows that as a system, we evolved to show that we can educate children, although we are not in touch with them in one way or the other. Like some schools, of course, many schools continued with their online education, but there are many other examples which we don't get to hear of very often, but there are many schools that continue to teach their children by sending them worksheets. And of course, CBSE came up with very innovative practices where they could access their lesson through television and radios. There have been teachers who taught children by going to their homes also. Individually, they visited homes and spent time with children on bi-weekly basis or 3 times a week basis. So it is, I think, the grit and determination of educators in general, which I feel is a secret of resilience in our country. And the focus of the teachers that no matter what, they will ensure that learning happens. So I'm just reminded of a quote, by Nandan Nilekani, who said that following the COVID-19, he said that India, proves to be a very resilient country because he said that if any education system can show that classrooms should not be the only location where learning happens, and teachers should not be the only facilitators, and textbook is not the only medium of education, I think we have proved that we are a resilient system. And over the last 1.5 years, we have done this in one way or the other. The shift to the online classes, although it may not be a very sustainable model of resilient schools, but it has shown to us that we can come up with a flexible, blended, hybrid model of learning. And this is a kind of a disaster management coping skill that all of us have developed in our own informal way. Nobody taught us how to, cope up with this kind of a disaster that came up. I don't think pandemic was even listed as a disaster, and to this extent we would be affected was nobody's imagination. So I think that somewhere we have developed our own system of education which ensures inclusivity, and to some extent we have gained the trust of the stakeholders who are the parents and the students, and we have got the teachers on board who strongly believe that we can continue with this system of education. So I think I would give the entire credit to the educators that they are the secret of us being a resilient system.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This is so true. We've learned this every episode. We have tipped our hat to the educators every episode. It's incredible the kind of learning the educators went through rapidly in the first 1 month to kind of revamp an entire system this big and this old is not easy. Roy sir, if I may come to you, same question, sir. Where do you think the secret lies? We understand the educators are the real warriors in the forefront, but do you think there's more to it than that?
Yeah, like the speakers have shared before me, the resilience lies in the team. It's not a one-person effort. It takes everyone. Right from the management of the school to the teachers, the parents, and of course the primary stakeholders, the students. Not forgetting, sometimes we can just overlook the very timely and regular directives that we got from CBSE and maybe our local state and district educational offices. Sometimes those directives were very challenging. Sometimes they were quite disturbing. But once we got our teeth into them, we realized that it was for the common good. We never forgot the common good. There was a lot of good that came out of it, but to come to that good, there might be a little bit of pain. It says that stepping out of your comfort zone leaves you with learning for a lifetime. So while we traveled that sort of a painful journey, there was a lot of learning, there was a lot of resilience. And, sometimes we think that this online is for students. Let's not forget, at least the school where I work, we have 2.5-year-old students, and they embraced online. Well, with the help of the team. In their case, it was the parents and the teachers. I'm sure the other schools would also have that age group. Everyone had to jump into that online platform. It was like going back these 14 months. I'm trying to relive the month of May 2020. It was nightmarish. It was, we were raw. And now we've emerged not only confident, but willing to go forward in a more innovative, creative manner, in a more resilient manner, as you say. We are kind of unstoppable and unputdownable. There has been so much of innovation in what we have been trying to do, not only through the actual classes which happen in the mornings, but the supplementary work that goes out and also the fun bits that we've been having. Like you've been having your 100th episode. It's not something to boast about from my side, but we had 26 class events. Every class staged a full 1 hour, 15-minute cultural program that included the 2.5-year-olds as well, right up to the year 12s. To have parents in, Asha ma'am mentioned that our classroom suddenly opened up. It wasn't just the students and the teachers. We had to remind ourselves that there were parents who were privy to what was going on. There were other elders who were in the homes, maybe siblings that were there, maybe even an educated maid who is listening into what's being said or not being said, and how the digital class is being maintained, how this digital hand-holding is happening. It was a great challenge, and it continues to be so. And the more we leap into that sort of a setting, the more resilient we are becoming. The resilience is happening on a day-to-day basis. We have entered a new academic year, and already we are doing things so differently, and there is such a lot of freshness that is exciting even for the doer, not just for the receiver. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, sir. A follow-up question to what you just said. On the teacher side of things, we can understand there was a lot of innovation. There was a will to take this problem head on and kind of solve it. On the student side, what we have realized over these last 1.5 years is our awareness of their mental health, the need to have them in the right mindset, overall wellness. These things were perhaps not as important to us as concepts just about a year and a half ago. Do you think so that has changed our understanding of the student's mindset?
Well, strangely enough, when we began online classes, or when schooling stopped, in other words, it takes me back to March 2020, April 2020. One of the things I did for several weeks, I wrote a full-length letter to parents each week using the designated school app on things like time management. That was initial, parents as caregivers. Then I brought in the elements of a healthy lifestyle, and gradually the challenge of online teaching, learning, and things that we would value in post-COVID times. We even did an online survey. I mean, we did a lot of things. It's so interesting that you brought up this point. And not only that, just to continue on that, uh, about 2 months ago, the postal authorities of our country put out a letter writing competition for students. I just want to share with the audience, where it says, write a letter to a family member about your experience with COVID-19. Now, this was for the students. Wow. Sometimes we think that that students are not experiencing or able to express what they are experiencing. It was a cathartic process, a process of releasing such a lot of feelings and emotions that were pent up within them. It just flowed out in that letter that they wrote. Some of them wrote it, but like I can imagine what every child would have gone through, uh, even the young ones who may not be able to express it, but there would be a lot of issues that would have come up, a way of providing relief from their anger. There would have been suffering, there would have been negative experiences. Sometimes we feel when it's online classes, it's the schedule is made out, we switch on the system, everyone goes into class. There is an individual child behind every device that is there. No, we can sometimes forget that. So it's not that I'm going to teach a subject, I'm going to teach a child. I'm going to interact with every single one. Like Dr. Saha mentioned earlier in his keynote address, every child is important. It's so easy to say, yes, my online program has been functioning so satisfactorily, but how is it impinging on the life of the last and the least and the lost one, the one who is digitally lost, as Anupama ma'am was saying, the one who doesn't have access to it? How can we try and get them back on board to be part of this very exciting journey that we have embarked on? Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Anupama ma'am, I'll come to you with the same topic, but your take on the students, their mental mindset, their mental well-being, the mindset. How do you ensure that piece?
Yeah, this is a very relevant question, and I'm so glad that we are always talking about the ill effects of COVID-19 on the education system. I would like to highlight some positive effects of this pandemic on our educational system. I'm so glad that mental health of students became a reality, and everybody started taking cognizance that it is so important to cater to the emotional and mental needs of students before even thinking of their academic achievements. So I feel that to lift the spirit of students in school, this has to be a process which is contagious. We cannot expect that the students will always be high spirited with the way the sessions are happening. This has to be something that all the stakeholders feel and convey to the students, so that there is nothing else that they can do but be part of the the energy that all of us carry. So I feel that right from policy makers to the head of the institution to the staff members, the community, the parents, all of us have to work in sync with each other, where we understand our roles and responsibilities. Given the kind of constraints that all of us are facing, we need to understand and come to a kind of an understanding where we know where our responsibilities begin and where it ends. So as a teacher, there is only that much you can do. As a parent, there's only that much we can do. But if parents and teachers to get together, we can achieve the world. So if we are in partnership, if we know that we can work together for the children will feel that they are part, a sense of responsibility and belonging will take over, and automatically they will be a spirit that they would like to participate in. And another thing that I would like to point out is that it's very important, whether the classes are happening online or offline. It is so critical for us to always keep in mind that students need to be provided with the choice and voice. Very, very important. They need to be provided the choices also. Would they like to learn in a certain way? Would they like to learn now or maybe later? Would they like to do the homework in a different way instead of giving a report? Would they like to share a podcast with us, or would they like to express the idea of a poem in the form of a drawing? So it's very important that as a system, we provide the necessary choices to the children. And more importantly, whether the student has a voice. I do not mean a literal voice where they speak up. I mean that do they have the freedom to express how they are feeling about it? Are they in a position to get in touch with someone if they need help? So it's so necessary for us to ensure that all the students have this choice and voice. And most importantly, we have to also teach them self-care. And also now there is no time better than this to teach them that eventually they are responsible for their learning. And this has come out beautifully in a very informal way, I would say. But all the students have realized that they have to put in their effort to ensure that they reciprocate the kind of activities that are happening. They absorb what is happening around them. And also last year, just like Mr. Roy de Silva informed us, last year has been phenomenal for us also. We were able to achieve so many activities that we did not in the last 3 years. The kind of collaboration that has happened, the kind of getting in touch with community that has happened, the kind of being of help to people who are around us has happened. It has been phenomenal. And I think that if we are able to involve, all our programs are student driven. So if there is something for the student to look forward to every day, every week, I'm sure there will be the right kind of attitude towards education also.
Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much. Asha, ma'am, if I may come to you with the same thing. In Kuwait, I'm guessing the situation is a little better than what it is in India right now.
Yes, of course.
So you would already be seeing some of that translation happening.
It is improving. It is improving. And in this context, what you have been asking, to keep it moving and to keep the children encouraged, I would like to say that teaching learning process is totally emotional. When children are emotionally good, confident, they learn better. If there is a fear at the back of the mind of any kind, the learning stops there and then. So first thing for us was to make them feel comfortable. So as it has already been said by Mr. De Silva, that it is a teamwork which matters. So our team at school, we decided that in the first place, we will make children comfortable. We will make a day of at least 2 or 3 students in a class per period so that they are happy. And we will involve a lot of activities. You know, kitchen at home, it became a lab. Lot many activities were done in the kitchen because it is a lot of science there in the kitchen. So teachers became very innovative, students became very innovative, and our purpose of education is to keep them engaged constructively. And that is what we were able to do it. And a lot of hand holding, of course, is required. We have to keep asking in the lessons, in between the lessons, how are they feeling and how was the day. It has become so much child-centered, which was never there. We are stressing more on this aspect of comfort of the children, no fear around, and they are emotionally stable. That has been focused by us, and they are kept engaged. And blended learning has made it happen. A lot of project work has happened. Art has been beautifully integrated. Our website is full of artwork and integration, and not many activities happen. What we could not conceive earlier that these programs can happen, they happen. And the main thing is this, that children, more than teachers, they look forward to meet their friends. School is not a place of just teaching and learning. It is also a place of mingling with others. And we have provided that platform through various seminars, various discussions, various group works to the children, that they should feel, yes, they are in the community, they are not left apart. So I think a lot of hand holding has been done, lot of work has been done to make it student centric, and we have used all the possible annotation tools in order to take them in so that they do not feel that they are left alone or there is a gap, and we try to fill that gap through our classes and through various ways. There are numerous ways, and I tell you, the way the things moved, the kinds of programs we conducted, it's not only the students. I must compliment our teachers. The type of notes and type of circulars they made on their own and they tried to give to the children. We never celebrated so many birthdays of our leaders of India. And so many leaders which never came, you can say they never read about them, they were apprised with their names and their contributions. I think it has expanded, the knowledge has expanded, and children are doing wonderfully well, and we have been able to give considerably, and the letters of appreciation from parents for our teachers, they are just pouring in. Parents also never thought, and they never came and walked up to my table and they said, ma'am, things are moving wonderfully well. And it is very encouraging, not only for the teachers, for me too. And I do compliment my staff, the way they faced and they kept it student-centric. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This to me is the proof of the resilience. We just had 3 school principals tell us the positive things that they could do thanks to the pandemic. I never thought in the last 1 year I would end a sentence with a thanks to the pandemic, but it has happened now. My last question, we'll do a bit of crystal ball gazing. Anupama, ma'am, if I may start with you. do you feel these changes, the things that we have done in becoming resilient, are they permanent, or is this an elastic change and we would go back to where we were?
Not at all, Shubhayu. I really feel that the pandemic has opened a sea gate of opportunities for us. I was just reading that instead of looking at it as danger, it is better that we change it. Although it's not a synonym, I'm a teacher of English, but in this situation, the synonym of danger is opportunity here. So the kind of learning that happened without, the learning has happened without any advance notice. Nobody was told that this is going to come up. So are you all ready with these skills? It was just like I always use this analogy that we were all taken on a flight, and in the middle of the ocean, they just opened the door and just pushed us. So it was like, how did we learn to stay afloat and how did we learn to swim and survive? So these skills we are never going to forget. And I'm very positive that, like I told before, a lot of things that we thought were impossible has become a reality. So I feel that out of all the other things that are going to stay, like personal hygiene, taking care of our health, besides all this, the thing that are going to impact our educational field is that we came to know that remote or hybrid learning can be a reality. If implemented with a little bit of mindfulness, it can be a reality. And also, like I told, this has given us an opportunity to make scaffolding a reality. Scaffolding always seemed to be like a foreign word to all of us. When people would speak about scaffolding activities, we would say, how do we do that? But now we are doing it. We are getting in touch with children with special needs, children who need a little more help. We are getting in touch with them with activities with which to which they can respond, and we are doing it beyond school hours also. We are more flexible now towards planning individualized learning modules for students. And another thing that has come to the forefront is teachers have realized that continuous professional development is inevitable. Without having to force them to attend sessions, they themselves are looking out for sessions through which they can learn, how to make videos, how to use different online resources like Quizlet and Padlet and Kahoot. So they are looking for sessions. So many of them have completed so many MOOCs. And this has all happened without any of us telling them. So this is a very, very positive thing, which I feel will continue. And there is another aspect which has come to the forefront is the involvement of parents. Irrespective of the fact whether they are educated, they are literate, they have time, they are very busy people, whatever kind of parent they are, one thing that all of them are doing is that they are so involved with their children's education. So this is something which I wish will continue. I'm not sure it will continue, but it's a very sincere desire in me that it should continue. And everybody has realized that long hours of screen viewing is exhaustive. Earlier, we had to tell children that please don't spend too much of time. Now they themselves are saying that we would like to do something else other than just look at the screen. And something which is very endearing to me is that we are paying attention to the mental health of students. So I feel that these are the things that we should take along with us even when physical schooling starts. And it's going to be, like they say, Sone pe suhaga, things that are already going well. If we are able to add all these elements, I'm very, very sure that our education system will become more inclusive, more comprehensive, and more participative also.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Asha, ma'am, if I may come to you next.
Yes.
What do you think will change long term?
There will be many changes because, as I said, that Indian thought is let good things come from all sides. We have tasted so many ways or strategies which we can implement in our classroom to make the classroom very effective. Our teachers have become techno-savvy. Naturally, whatever we have learned in the process, we are not going to leave it out. It will be blended learning, which is going to take place in the times to come. We will make the best of everything which has been learned during this time. As a matter of fact, teaching has got three parts. What is to be taught, and how is it to be taught, and to know whether it has been taught well or not. What has been taught, what is to be taught was focused before. Now this is the talk of yesteryears. How is it to be taught was focused during this time, and teachers have become very, you can say they have become experts as how to go about their lessons and how to become very innovative while teaching, how to keep the children engaged. And assessments have also changed. And this has also led to, I must say, that it has brought quality in education. It can accelerate learning. One thing is that you do remedial. Whatever not been understood, you do the remedial. But accelerate the learning, we have to bring equity in the class. We have to bring the whole class at the same level. Now, so many tools are available. How can they leave those tools, which they have learned already? So they can accelerate learning in a very beautiful manner. What my assumption is this, that our school is going, or all the schools are going to be very efficient as far as teaching learning process is concerned. Our assessment system is also going to undergo a change because teachers have started using exit passes. They are giving due time to reflection, and they are themselves reflecting on how the teaching learning process is going on. So I think this experience is very enriching. And through art and value addition to education, it has really changed the total scenario of education. So there is no going back. As I earlier said, it is in our blood that we absorb every good thing coming in our way. So what we are absorbing now, we are going to enrich it further. There is no going back, and our education system is going to be far better than before in the times to come. And I'm very optimistic about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Roy sir, same question. Would things change? Would they not change? And if so, what would change?
Yes, like Asha ma'am and Anupama ma'am have just shared, so much has been learned during this past 14 months that it would be a shame to just throw it away. It has to be a blending. That is how the journey will move. It will move ahead with the bits and pieces that have been gathered along the way, and with a lot of innovation that not only the teachers, but as they have rightly said, the parents have been so involved, the teachers primarily. It has become such a collective enterprise that there is no way it's going to be left on its own now. It will move as a collective organism. The school now has got a new face. Schooling has got a whole new reality. The participation of everyone in this enterprise cannot be ignored anymore, and that is the way it would have to go ahead. I would just like to give a quote from Maya Angelou, and she says, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better." That's the way it would have to go. So we have learned so much, we know better, and as we get to know more, as we get to know better, we will keep doing better, and that's the way it will move ahead. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. I can very honestly say that one of the best parts of my job here at Notebook as a co-founder is hosting these 100 discussions. The wealth of knowledge that I've gained just from being part of these discussions is phenomenal. I wish we could go on longer, but because of paucity of time, I think we've already held people back for nearly 2 hours now. I'll now like to invite Achin for the vote of thanks. Achin, you'll have quite a bit to thank for, so all yours.
I think really wonderful session. I was listening patiently and enjoyed every bit of it. So a lot of very thought-provoking points came across. So referring to the topic of the day, unbroken, I remember a quote, very, very appropriate in this particular regard. The oak fought the wind and was broken. The willow bent when it must and survived. But here, when we say the willow bent, it doesn't refer to submission. All that it refers to is being flexible and saving your strength to fight another day, to bounce back and to bounce back stronger. So today, when we look at what's happening around us, I guess undoubtedly, there's no doubt about it, that everywhere, a lot of plans are being changed. Be it students, be it educators, be it professionals, people are forced to adjust, be it your plans, be it your budgets, be it your plan for the next holiday, plan for taking a particular course, higher education, promotions, starting a new venture. So we all going back to the drawing board and working on them. But having said that, I believe that resilience to me is accepting new reality, even if it's less good than the one we had before. I think great session we had. I sincerely thank Burrett sir. Couldn't thank him enough for giving us a great start as always. Some wonderful thought-provoking points. I also thank Dr. Saha. I think very appropriately he mentioned two things. Of course, there are a lot of good points, but two prime takeaways. I think emphasis on arts is something which we at Notebook also completely agree. Emphasis on arts, emphasis on culture, emphasis on creativity, which will help in generating curiosity in young minds. And I'm sure esteemed educators, panelists in this forum would all agree with me on that. A really wonderful point, Dr. Saha. And also, I think Burrett also mentioned, and Dr. Saha also further elaborated on it, a number of ventures, that's a number of initiatives that have been in place, be it Diksha, be it various other platforms, portals, etc. And I'm sure our educators and teachers and our students are taking full advantage of it in different forums. But I guess the way I look at it, I think it's the responsibility of all stakeholders of the education system to come forward, join hands. Say, for example, we were listening about digital divide, one of very, very sensitive topics. And I think very appropriately mentioned by Asha ma'am as well. I think this is one topic, and undoubtedly the pandemic has brought this to the forefront. Very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. The digital divide, which was always there, but this pandemic has actually highlighted this, and we just can't ignore this any further. So I guess I'd also take this opportunity to appeal to all educators here, and not only you, but anyone that we interact with, because of course you are great social influencers. You speak to so many people. So I guess it's our responsibility to try and ensure that how can we contribute toward this? Are there spare devices at home that we are not using currently? Say, for example, a new laptop has come in, but the earlier one, the old one, maybe a little older version, but still working. Can it really help a child attend online classes or get access to digital content? And help him. Small gesture, but will make a world of difference to him or her. Maybe a child of a domestic help, or your driver, or your chauffeur, or your building, or your building society watchman, someone's child. Because this kind of small gestures, if each one of us indeed take these initiatives, and if you're able to influence at least 2 lives, trust me, there'll be a huge tsunami. There'll be a huge tsunami and there'll be a cascading effect. That undoubtedly is something which is very, very close to my heart. Roy sir, thank you so much for being here with us today. I think some great points you mentioned, including the kind of learning and resilience that you've seen over the last 1 year, especially 2.5-year-old. What you said, 2.5-year-old embracing online, indeed. And also the kind of freshness and excitement that you spoke of. And I'm sure a lot of good initiatives are happening here. Thank you so much, sir. Anupama ma'am, I think two very important points you mentioned. One is sense of responsibility and sense of belonging. Very, very important words. These are small words, but with lot of inner meaning. And also choice and voice. I really liked it, the way you articulated it, ma'am. It's really something that I'm sure our esteemed educators today evening at this forum, this is one of our key takeaways. Choice and voice. Students need to be provided, at the end of the day, various options being given to them, so that at the end objective is conceptual clarity. The end objective is to give them confidence so that they can come forward and air their views. And also, I think so many activities that you mentioned. Asha ma'am, I think, thank you so much, ma'am. Your earlier sessions also, whenever you came, very, very thought-provoking discussions. I really, really like them. And I think apart from digital divide, which you very rightly mentioned, which I was discussing, I think innovative teaching is something which you emphasized on, and which all of us would agree. Engaging children constructively and blended learning, of course, it stays with us, as Roy sir also mentioned. Of course, going forward, that so much of learning, as sir mentioned, that over the last 14 months, we just can't throw it away. So naturally, that stays with us. So I guess these were some great takeaways from the session. I thank all of you, members of the esteemed panel, and also our esteemed audience for being with us here today. It gives us great pleasure to be able to complete our 100th episode. We indeed look forward to your active support in the days to come. Thank you, take care, and goodbye.
Thank you very much, Achin. Congratulations, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.